First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And yeah, back again with some updates. We keep on warning, all right, sounding the alarm bells. Okay, and just getting straight into it. I have two articles here. As you can see, one is from RT News, one is from Zero Hedge, and they're pretty much both centered around the same subject. All right, which is this upcoming, if not already beginning, economic woe. Okay, economic destruction, pretty much. Now you have the IMF and the World Bank sound alarm over recession. Okay, it says, and before we even go into it, let's type that in here: economic recession. Wow, I just saw the word. All right. uh, all right. So it says here, recession. A recession can be defined as a sustained period of weak or negative growth in real GDP output that is accompanied by significant rise in unemployment rate. All right. And pretty much that's why, because you have inflation, that's a problem, but that's why a lot of people are also, or as you can see, like the IMF, the World Bank, they even sounded the alarm over this recession because with how rapidly and aggressively the Fed are increasing the or hiking the interest rates. This if they're calling this a global recession, that you're looking at unemployment on a global level, right? And I mean, it brings to mind the whole concept of the universal basic income. But nevertheless, the next article is going to tell you that, see, what one thing is bad, right? What's bad is having high prices, all right, your job not covering or matching the difference between inflationary prices and what your income is. All right, that's bad as it is. But what's worse is having no job at all and inflation still being at a high rate. So it says here the global economy is slowing down and growth may completely stall next year. Both institutions claim, both of them, which they all working in tandem anyway. The world's economy may plunge into a recession next year. Now we are in October, getting to the middle of October. All you have left is November and December. As central banks raise interest rates to battle inflation, but are stalling growth in the process. According to World Bank President David Malpass, an IMF head, an IMF head, Kristalina Georgieva, the two spoke at a joint virtual discussion on Monday. There is a risk and real danger of a world recession next year, Malpass stated, noting that slowing growth in advanced economies and currency depreciation in many developing countries are signaling a deterioration of the global economy. Development efforts are facing a crisis amidst a vast array of problems, he added. All right. So, I mean, there's no doubt about it that the at least looking at it from an economic standpoint, the global economy is facing some very, very turbulent times. Georgieva agreed that the risk of recession has increased, noting that countries that jointly account for a third of the world's GDP are at the risk of falling into a recession. These nations may experience negative growth during the last quarter of 2022 and the first quarter of 2023, she added. According to IMF estimates, global losses from the economic slowdown may reach as much as $4 trillion by 2026, which is equivalent to the size of Germany's GDP. Nevertheless, Georgieva said that policymakers can't let inflation become a runaway train without taking measures to tame it. So that is the big but. Okay, when somebody tells you something and then they open the sentence with something, but then they have a but. A but in essence is to an extent disannulling the first part. You say somebody pitches an idea to you, right? And you say, wow, I am totally on board with your idea, and I definitely think we can make this happen. But the second you introduce a but, then clearly we can't make this. How the hell are we supposed to make this? Because you're introducing something that's gonna come in opposition to that, right? Oh, no disrespect, but then you start to disrespect the. I mean, nevertheless, what's being said, right, is that yes, we this is bad and it can lead to definitely a horrible economic slowdown, but we cannot let inflation become a runaway train without taking measures. So in essence, what are you saying? You're saying that, well, I know this is bad, but it's kind of necessary. We need to kind of do this in order to, I mean, we can't just let inflation run wild, right? But which one is worse now? And it's looking like it might not even be a situation because this is what the Fed is doing in hopes of taming inflation. But what happens? What happens if the Fed loses this and now they end up in a position where you have thrown the globe into a recession, all right, and inflation is still high? Now you would rather have a job and have to deal with inflation, at least be able to get do something, than to be unemployed and still have to deal with inflation. Anyway, as it says, and do you know that that's going to lead to some civil unrest over there, which the next article touches a little bit upon. But it says many central banks have hiked interest rates this year in an attempt to battle with tighter monetary policy, the inflation sparked by rising energy costs and the legacy of Pandy era loose monetary and fiscal policies. The European Central Bank hiked its benchmark rate by an unprecedented 75 basis points last month, following a 50 basis point hike in July, the first in over a decade. The U.S. Federal Reserve has delivered several rate hikes, while the Bank of England announced the steepest interest rate hikes in over 20 years in August, upping its benchmark rate by half a percentage point to 1.75%, and so on and so forth. Now, there's no guarantee that this is going to be the end of these rate hikes. It looks like they're just going to keep it going. They don't really look like they have a ceiling for it, and their ceiling is just looking at whether inflation is coming down to 2% or not. Okay, now here's the next article. It says, here comes the open revolt. A reeling Europe lashes out at the Fed for bringing us to a world recession. Okay, and it's interesting in here because when you read it, you pretty much have where is this guy? Here we go. The Joseph Borrell, right, says a high representative of the 27-member EU bloc lashed out all too publicly at the Fed when he said that central banks across Europe, where the recession will be far, far worse than in the US, are being forced to follow the Fed's multiple rate rises to prevent their currencies from slumping against the dollar. And compared the US central bank's influence to Germany's dominance of European monetary policy before the creation of the euro. And pretty much they're saying, like the article tells you, usually you don't like these people on the inside, they don't publicly show disagreement with one another. I mean, only in cases where it's controlled opposition. All right, and the reason is just the same reason they use damage control. All right, to avoid having riots and panic, because this is able to grasp the minds of the people very quickly. Okay, and I believe he mentions that somewhere around here. There it goes. It says the last thing central banks need when they are seeking to affect an extremely unpopular global economic recession that will leave millions without a job, think inflation is bad, just wait until you have no job and inflation is still bad. But anyway, as it says, the last thing they need is growing discord among the ranks of the technocrats who have a simple script. No matter how unpopular or stupid a given policy is, you never, never disagree in public, as this risks sparking popular outrage and toppling the entire house of cards at the hands of a suddenly very angry public. Well, you're going to have a very angry public no matter what you do. All right, as a matter of fact, they're already angry. Okay. Um, I believe something that was also mentioned here. Let's see. Yep, it says, of course, back then the solution to the super Deutschmark was simple. Pool all nations under a common currency umbrella, even if it means misery for the less productive and less mercantilist countries. Hence the never-ending European sovereign debt crisis, which remains in hibernation only thanks to the ECB's bond buying. This time, however, there is no simple solution taking advantage of gullible states. Instead, now that they've broken the seal of silence, the leaders of Europe admit to just how powerless they truly are when the custodian of the world's reserve currency has to do what's best for only for itself, allies, and friends be damned. Okay? Everybody has to follow because otherwise their currency will be devalued, Borrell said to an audience of EU ambassadors. The FT reported, everybody is running to increase interest rates. This will bring us to a world recession. Well, I mean, it is what it is. It's all a part of prophecy. Okay, and they need this world recession. They need this chaos. However it plays out. Okay, but it's designed not only on a carnal level for these elites to hit the next step in their agenda. If you've noticed over the past really going back many years, but more heavily over the past 2 to 3 years, every event or action that has been taking place mainly has been affecting things on a global scale openly. Okay, and it's all been a phase, phase one leading to phase two leading, and you notice how even today the problems that are the world is facing today are resulting from incidents and situations that took place a year ago, 2 years ago, because they are almost like prerequisites. Like this phase is necessary, and just when you complete this, you lead right into the next, which is dependent on whatever this phase did. Okay. But moving on, this is and right, so that's happening on a physical level, but on a spiritual level, the Lord is using these elites to bring about these plagues and these judgments. Okay? Because these elites, Revelation 12 and 12, they're gonna come down with great wrath because they're trying to move with speed to accomplish their NWO, and whoever is not with it, they're trying to run them down. And they're gonna have a large number of casualties in the process of doing that. Well, guess what? Those casualties are going to be judgments from the Lord either way. He's putting the spirit on them to move the way they're moving. And if you thought that they actually cared about your well-being and your survival and all that, you thought very, very wrong. They're very good at making it look like they do, but as it tells you in the book of Psalms, it says that I think it's 55. I always mix this one up, but it mentions their words were smoother than butter. All right. Yet, were they drawn swords? Let me actually just pull that up in the blue letter. So, and that's why in the Apocrypha it tells you never trust thine enemy. I think it's Psalms 50. 50? Let's see. Nope. Let's see. Psalms 55. Yep. Psalms 55 and 21. It says, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. Okay, now when you look at this devil, which the word devil means deceiver, all right, but when you look at these Edomites, really with their elites today, whether they set up these different politicians or prime ministers, members of parliament, all of these people, when you look at them today, they come out and they speak all of these things to you. As it says, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, meaning that whatever it is that they're trying to do, they don't come straight. They come and say certain things that can slip past your mental defenses, but inwardly the intention behind it, as it says, but war was in his heart. Take a look at the Pandi. It's about saving lives. It's about da da da. It's about saving lives. It's for you and protecting yourself and others. All this extra stuff. Clearly that wasn't the intention. Fauci came out and said it. Burke came out and said it. Right? War was in his heart. They had ulterior motives that were not for your benefit. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. So that's why, regardless of what they come out and make things seem like, you always got to consider what is the ultimate agenda here, because it's definitely not for your benefit. Anyway, this is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 16, verse 14. It says, "Behold, the plagues are sent, and shall not return again until they come upon the earth." So where are they sent from, and who sent them? Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai sent these plagues. All right, and they're going to keep on coming upon the earth in many forms that will ultimately manifest in famines, in diseases, in war, in chaos, all right, in death. And as it says, they're not going to return again. So you may have people that are praying that this passes and this doesn't happen, but they've already been sent. It's already been written. It's already been prophesied. The word is already going out. Now we're in the time of it manifesting, of it being fulfilled. All right, this is the book of Amos, chapter 3, verse 6. It says, "Shall a trumpet be blown in the city, and the people not be afraid?" Then why is that? Because just like in the ancient, like today you have alarms, but in the ancient world you had different kinds of alarms. All right, you had trumpets that made different sounds. Some that were warnings for war, some that were warnings for or alerts for holy days, alerts for like gathering and assembly. You had different sounds or that the trumpets would make, or different uh, a different amount of times that they would sound. Like for those that have watched Game of Thrones, if you watched far enough, they were now if you're familiar with it, those that were at the wall, right, that had to basically the Night's Watch, I believe they called them. Anybody that was, whether you were beyond the wall, you went outside, whatever it is, there was this loud trumpet sound that would sound if danger was there. And you would have, I think, if it sounded 3 times, that was like high, super high level danger. So if you heard it sound once, you would wait to hear if it would sound twice or 3 times, or if it was just once, and you would know what it means, right? So in this case, shall a trumpet be blown in the city and the people not be afraid, right? So a trumpet signaling danger. Shall there be evil in the city? And the answer is no, right? Because when people hear that, um, oh wow, okay, hold on one second. Let's take a look at this headline. IMF says 2023 global growth could fall to 1% under downside scenario of 30% oil price jump, Chinese property disruptions, overheated labor markets, and severe financial tightening. Wow, that doesn't sound too good for this place, huh? So as it says, shall there be evil in a city, and the Lord hath not done it? And these are rhetorical questions. Okay, it's almost like saying, can you put your hand in fire and not be burned? It's rhetorical, but it's just emphasizing, okay, that the Lord is behind all the good and the evil that happens. The Most High is controlling it all. Verse 7, surely the Lord God will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants the prophets. Meaning that before the Lord does anything, he reveals it to us. And he has revealed it to us, all right, via the Holy Scriptures and the Holy Spirit, also by setting up, teachers, okay, to teach us. So we are aware of the things that the Lord is getting ready to do. And that's why we are able to look at current events and filter it through the Scriptures and give the warning. Anyway, with that, I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kodash. Until next time, Shalom.